There is no template, it's fully custom. So basically after our discovery call with the client to understand like the scope of the project and to understand timelines, budgets, all the other elements, how far they are in the process, are we the first call or has a designer and a contractor already been assigned to the project? After we finish that call, the first step would be to understand the way they use the space to be able to customize it. Like if you're talking about a bathroom, for example, some people prefer just shower, some people prefer shower and tub. Some people prefer a single vanity, double sink vanity, all two separate vanities. There's so many, like we all use our spaces the best way that it fits our own lifestyle, right? So it's such a personal choice that you can't really use a template.
The whole process was hanging the key on which the boxes were hung. But the boxes on the key, everything is automatically leveled. Put them all together. Like for example, this wall here is made out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes that are hanging on the key and attached together. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections like this. They were perfectly leveled, like with the laser, and made equidistant so that the spacing to the cabinet and to the wall, or on this side, on both sides to the cabinet, is equidistant. And now I'm going to start putting in all the fillers, like side spacers, then the crown support with the crown molding, the toe kick, and then we have doors on this wall and on that wall, doors and drawers. And the opposite walls have just hanging bars.
Some of the light is bragging lights, right? Because do you need light in every cabinet? No. Is it a bell and whistle situation? Yes, it is. And it looks great and it elevates the overall finish of the cabinetry. So we try to think of both, but it's ultimately dictated by the client's preference and the budget.
And the other thing that we had to do before putting them all together was making sure that all the LED wiring is done prior to joining all the boxes together. So right now we have the LED strip, the channel with the diffuser, wire is there, ready for the electrician to put in the actual LED. So yeah, now it's going to be a lot of mitering and table sawing.
But we try to put the functional elements all the time. So we'll keep the functional lighting, we'll keep the most functional dividers and mechanisms and everything, like all of these accessories that actually make a difference in the way you use the product. And sometimes what gets cut for budget purposes is the things that are not necessarily, are just aesthetic and people consider they can live without. The worst part of it is though that they realize once everything is completed that for the extra hundreds or a couple of $1,000s that they can't really do after, because you can't really add certain things once the space has been completed, like integrated lighting, right? You're not going to be able to groove all those channels on site afterwards. It's never going to be a good idea and it's never going to be as crisp and as clean as on a CNC.
One big puzzle. All of them have to be cut. And not like half of them are gonna go in just like that. Nope. Gonna go with elevation 7. How we have this gap here, it's gonna be filled by this L shape when it's all built. but now it's slightly larger. So what I'll have to do is make sure that it's cut exactly to fit in between these two cabinets like this.
How do you guys come up with those naming conventions?
Well, each part has a number, like it's called a side or a back or a stretcher or a partition. And then during the planning, during the drafting phase, basically, once the design is complete, the drafters, they take and they name each cabinet 1, 2, 3. They give it a number, basically. And the CNC assigns it also a letter code. So we're able to know that the cabinet is BC 18, it's bottom cabinet 18. So, or base cabinet 18. So we're, it's a very easy system once you look over the plans and you process like the overall project. To understand everything.
Yeah. And then here, 1 3/4 by 83 3/8. Now I just need to make it stick out 3/4 of an inch because that's going to be the thickness of the drawer front with the bumper behind it. Facers, crown, and toe kick. Especially here because everything is flush. We don't have any countertops. So the toe kick is going to be flush with the doors, meaning that I'm going to have to cope it to the floor. So yeah, everything is going to, it's a very small space, but it's going to have a lot of details. I'm going to have to use the table, so I might as well 4. But this is the most difficult, time-consuming part of the installation. Putting the keys fast, putting all the boxes and lining them up is somewhat fast. Putting the doors and drawers in, it's fast and adjusting them. But doing all the spacers, fillers, crown molding, and toe kick, that's what takes the most time. But hey, nobody's making me do this. Actually, Ioana's making me do this, but
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason that we do the trims and that we like all the trims around top, bottom, left, right. When you go wall to wall, floor to ceiling, are meant to give that little play to the imperfection of the fixed elements, of the floor, of the side wall, of the ceiling, you know. But achieving the perfect cuts to make sure that those spacers look like they belong gives it the high-end finish look.
2 3/8, 2 5/16, 2/4, oh, 2.5.
Well, so in the closet, we went with the chandelier. In the room, there's 4 can lights too, I think, but only because they were existing in the room. And we did integrated lighting, vertical and horizontal, in the cabinetry. I honestly think that that's going to be the best kind of lighting for that application, the integrated lighting. It's going to look luxurious is the word you're looking for.
The gap in between the cabinet and the wall. If the other spacers I was able to measure and cut with a straight line on the table saw because it was meeting the other cabinet, which is perfectly flat, I won't be able to do this here because there's a difference of about 1/8 of an inch between the bottom and the top, and I can see that the wall, look, if you try, look at the gap. right? So there's a bump actually in the middle of the wall. You see how I can move this piece? So this, I could measure in 15 points and connect those dots and then hope that the cut is going to be perfect. Or I can trace it using that trick that Luigi taught me. This is exactly the reason for why, you see, this same piece, if I were to put it on the cabinet on this side, right? Let's say it's a straight cut. You see, there's absolutely no gap. Like it touches top to bottom, right? You see? Zero gaps because this is straight, this is straight. So if I need to cut this to size, I just measure the distance and I cut it on the table saw. On the wall, you don't have this luxury because the walls, like I said, they're never straight. So I have to cope and copy the shape of the wall into the spacer.
When you say coping, do you mean me coping with this industry or the coping of the parts to fit the walls? Because
Both works.
both works. I'm not coping, both literally or figuratively. It's the guys that are coping. The boys, like the installers, the installation team, always receive all the pieces that touch wall ceilings or floors oversized. Meaning if your toe kick on a cabinet is 4 inches, they're going to receive a 5 or a 6 inch piece, because we all know that as much as you try and as good as you are, and it has nothing to do with craftsmanship, it has to do with environment and the materials that you use, as well as the settling of a house. Floors are crooked, ceilings aren't leveled, you know. I mean, in 18 years of doing this, I have seen one single perfect space, and we still speak about it. It happened something for around the holidays in 2017, but the client paid an arm and a leg to have every single wall perfectly plumb and the floors perfectly level. Was it worth it? Maybe to him, but I don't think that everybody wants to do that. That's why they exist, like crown moldings, casings, baseboards, and the application for cabinetry where we have the toe kick, the side spacers exist to be able to allow you to cope with uneven spaces. So we always send on site the pieces at least 1 inch larger to allow, most of the times it's 2 inch, to allow for this unevenness to be factored in. So they basically trace it using the extra. They fix it on the cabinet, they trace the wall next to it, and then they make sure that they cut on the table saw to the exact shape of the wall. And then once it's going to be put against the wall, it's going to fit perfectly.
Like this is where the trick is. How you place the piece and what you're using to trace the wall into it. So I'm using 23 gauge nails that I can remove from the edge bending that's on the cabinet. It's not going to leave any damage. So now I'm going to take the excess that I have cut from the height and use it to trace onto the piece. See, I'm using the leftover that I have cut from the length. So it's exactly the same width because this is in line with the edge of the cabinet on the outside. And I'm just touching the wall with it. Whatever is left once I remove this part of material is going to fit exactly inside. No measuring, nothing. You're just positioning it in the right place. You're tracing it with the right width, extra piece, and you're copying the wall into the piece. Just remove. Cannot even see where they went into the edge. So now we're gonna go trace using this line and it should fit exactly. So now, if we're trying to put this piece against something straight, look at the gap in the middle. Right? It's not straight anymore compared to this side. But putting it next to the wall now, look at this. Look, Ma, no hands. Right? And no gap. Yeah, there's a little line because I'm doing it by hand. So you're still gonna have to do a very thin line of caulking to be able to paint there. But there's no gap that I'm using the caulking to fill with. The gap is so tiny that if you use masking tape, you could just paint over that little gap and you're gonna cover all those little imperfections. You don't even need caulking, actually. Let's say you have a, whatever, more than an eighth of an inch gap or a quarter-inch gap. You're filling it up with caulking now. That caulking is going to shrink. It's going to dry. In 2-3 days, there's going to be a gap again. And then go through the process of summer, winter, high humidity, low humidity. That's going to shrink even more. It's going to crack. So you're going to see a little crack. So again, if you're okay with seeing a little crack, good for you. Let's see. So now this is a properly installed spacer slash filler.